everybody, my name's Amanda Foxon-Hill from Realise Beauty, and I am going to talk to you in this video about what's been going on with me this year and where I want to go next. And this is kind of a follow-up from the blog post that I put up in January, and I do understand that I have been quite quiet so far this year, and it's for good reason, so please listen on. So in January I disclosed that I had not so long ago, earlier the year before, been diagnosed with ADHD, and that had come on the back of me having some personal struggles and patterns of behaviour that I felt needed looking into, and ADHD fit with a lot of that. But it didn't fit with everything. So then from January I started looking at whether I was indeed autistic. And again, it's sort of like by the time you get to my age and, you know, I have a business, I've got my family's growing up and things are happening and they're not too bad, you know, life's ticking along. You know, you could be forgiven for thinking, well, why would you do that? Why now? What's the point? What made you think that? And there are both personal and, you know, sort of more open reasons for that. But the timing was right for me to understand myself better in relation to my family, so and in relation to what my family was experiencing earlier this year and before that. So it's been useful for everybody to get to know me and who I really am, as opposed to who I thought I was, I guess. And it's also why not, you know, at my age my kids have pretty much grown up, and I definitely was feeling that I still, or I have, some issues with some persistent I suppose patterns of behaviour and problems that come up in my life that were being struggled to be understood and overcome. So whatever I did, whatever pattern I tried to put in place, or protocols or systems, I just wasn't able to, I haven't been able to overcome these things. So going through the ADHD diagnosis definitely helped, and then looking into autism to sort of, you know, tick that next box and those things that ADHD sort of didn't quite touch. So anyway, bottom line was I finished up the assessments not so long ago, probably about a month ago, got the report and ticked the box, and yes, I'm autistic, so I have autism. So I wanted to talk to you about that because it is quite a big thing. It is quite a big change. It explains a lot, and it explains some of the problems that I've had in my business and some of the reasons why I am good at what I do, and somewhat different to the average thinker, or it's not really the average thinker, the person whose brain works in a neurotypical way, I should say. Because I didn't mean average as in intelligence wise, and I definitely don't think that I'm super intelligent. In fact, in terms of IQ, I have what's called I have what I classify as a very untuned piano IQ, where I have some extremely genius parts and some terrible, not quite up to scratch at all. But that's another story. So I'm autistic, I'm 46, I've had my business for 12 plus years and it's been relatively successful. But it could have felt easier for me, and it could have certainly felt easier sometimes for the interactions between my customers and for me growing a business, growing a team, or trying to, or whatever. So what I'm hoping to do now that I know and I've got my information and I understand my brain a little better is try and look to the future in a way that really harnesses my superpowers and strengths and minimises the problems that I have had and have struggled through, because I think, as with most people in business, or the kind of people that do get themselves into these businesses, you know, it's kind of like I've always had that mindset, well, if it's not working properly, I'm not trying hard enough. Whereas now I can be a bit kinder to myself and understand that there are some ways that my brain works that makes it impossible for me to just go on this course of organisation or just do what someone else does, because people don't generally think like me. So what does being autistic meant for me in business? Well, being autistic as a person has it isn't just about your head as a separate thing to your body. It's everything. So being autistic changes the way I see the world, how I interact with people, how I actually feel, so my sensory system, and how I perceive myself in the world, and even how I move, so how I actually navigate spaces like the lab, my teaching environment, whatever. If you have ever been to a class that I've taught, you might well have sat there and thought, wow, she's the clumsiest chemist I've ever seen. And it's true, I am. I have wrecked lots of stuff in my time, including myself, I guess. So I really am quite clumsy, and that is not due to me being, you know, extremely excitable and forgetful. It's the way my brain works. It's really hard for me to change, you know, I don't have as good a grasp in terms of actual sensory grasp on things as perhaps a neurotypical person has. So that can be as simple as, you know, pressure, not knowing how much pressure to pick things up and drop things down with when I'm picking up beakers, working in the lab or whatever, to executive processing and planning, you know, being impulsive, you know, diving into something without thinking and putting my safety glasses on or whatever. It could be a number of things. And I realise as I'm saying this that I'm kind of like an OH&S nightmare right now, and I am looking into that too. So there's all sorts of things that go on for me as an autistic person, and clearly I've kept myself relatively safe to now. I have all my fingers and my toes and everything in between. But being an autistic person in business and not realising it has led me to some challenges, and it has definitely made the process of having a business, I don't think it's made it any easier. In fact, I think it's made it harder at times. There have been more than one occasion in my business history when I've had customers say to me, you know, oh, you're too nice, you know, you need to charge more, you need to tell people no, you need to be you know, to draw the line with things, you know, and that kind of thing, as if it was something that I just was a bit timid and, oh, I don't want to be nasty. And honestly, it's really hard. I mean, when people have told me in the past that I'm too nice to be a successful business person, and I mean, that sounds awfully conceited to even say that. I'm not the nicest person. I can be quite rude, and that's also my autism making me, well, not making me blunt. I am blunt. I just am. I find it hard to lie and to embellish, if you like. So I'm not nice like that, but I know what people mean. It's that I'm a bit of a pushover sometimes, because what happens to me, I have a monotropic mind. So it's very easy for me to get sucked down a tunnel of awesomeness and find interest in a project and go above and beyond, or get stuck in a little rabbit hole of something that might be a minute detail that other people haven't noticed. And I find out amazing things, and that's what makes me great at teaching and understanding cosmetic chemistry. But it doesn't necessarily make me great at running a business, because I can take on, say, $1,000 job, for example, of investigating something simple, and do $3,000 worth of work because I felt like it was interesting, but only actually invoice for $500. That's not a great example, but that's kind of what I have done in the past, and I have tried to get better at that, and indeed I have got better at that. But my natural inclination is to be excited by the chemistry and the detail, as opposed to the potentially ways, the many ways in which I can get your money off you and make myself rich. So that really has hardly ever come into my mind. It's literally, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, I can charge a bit of money for that, and that will give me time to do it. Oh, now look, you know, whatever. So there's that. The other thing that both autism and ADHD have done for me, thank them for this, is it contributed to making it very hard for me to plan. So I do plan, and I do try and have things organised, but you can only know what you know and do things with the tools that you've got, and my toolkit for organising and executive processing is rather rubbish. So often I'll sit down, like I'll plan a recipe or a formula, I'll go and order all my materials, I'll get them all in, I'll go to the lab and realise I forgot the packaging, or actually I didn't buy all the materials because I forgot to buy one, or you know, I have got everything there, but then I can't find the customer name of what the project I was going to do, or, you know, I've actually ordered the wrong stuff for this job. That kind of thing can happen. Or I can get super excited, get on with my material and making stuff, and then blow my machine up. And that's happened before. Or drop it as I'm coming up here to clean it. So there's been that. Generally as well, another thing that's affected me or that's influenced the way I've run my business as an autistic person, even though I haven't known I have been, is the overwhelm. So I do have a tendency to get overwhelmed and shut down. So there's fight, flight and freeze responses, and then there's the parasympathetic, the calming down part of your nervous system, which my brain tended to forget about. So I have lived the majority of my 46 years in this fight, flight or freeze mode, with a little adrenaline spiked in there to keep me going. So everything's been on the edge of my seat or the edge of my nerves, and definitely on the edge of my sensory comfort zone. So things like answering the phone, recovering from a phone call that came in when I wasn't expecting it, you know, email flow, people asking you different things, people, you know, when you send an email back, answering their questions and then coming back with more, changes to briefs or to jobs, all of that kind of thing has been an absolute nightmare for me. And I have felt it quite difficult to cope with that aspect of business. Now, obviously, if you have a successful business, you have a number of customers and they're sending you a number of jobs to do or opportunities, and you can quote on them and do them. So you can imagine how chaotic that's felt for me. I've got this monotropic mindset which likes to do one thing at a time and really focus on it, get it done and then move on. And the world is not naturally that way anyway. And then you put business on top of it, plus a family, plus all the other things, and it becomes chaotic. So running my business has been a challenge personally. And up to this point, I have just sucked it up and got on with it because I felt like that's what I had to do. But I've since realised that's a little bit ableist of me. And I'm grateful to a point because it's got me to here. But clearly I had to stop, because getting through this year, and that's why I've been quieter this year, this last 7 months, I have not been able to churn out anywhere near the kind of work that I had been doing because I am exhausted. And that's what happens when you don't know who you are and you just keep going. So anyway, that's what I wanted to tell you in this video, that yes, I'm autistic. I also have ADHD. These things are both my prison, I guess, or my downfall, and my triumph and my amazing success. They're what make me different. They're what make my brain work in these amazing ways, and I love the way my brain works. But where I struggle is with making it work in a way that is understandable for other people, and that I can churn out sort of even monitored, measured, work, if you like. So I'm a little bit up and down. The me going up and down, I suppose, in terms of my energy levels and my capacity to keep on going, is heavily determined by how stressed I feel. And how stressed I feel can be determined by the types of customers I take on, the types of jobs I take on, you know, whether we're a good fit or not, what else is happening in my personal life or in the world, and all that sort of stuff. So that's that. So moving forward, I see a lot of potential, and I also see, I suppose I should say, I see a lot of potential for good, and I see a lot of potential for me to really, you know, orientate myself towards the kind of business that I know now will help me out, as opposed to what I thought I should do or think I should do as someone in my position. The downside is that there's also lots of potential for me to stay in this sort of quagmire, or even go backwards, if I don't have enough time and resources to shift this boat, if you like, this big boat into a different direction slightly. So my plans for the future are to go carefully and slowly and step by step, and try to really think about what it is that I enjoy about my work, what I've created here, where the best value I bring comes from, what type of work, and then try and navigate towards that. As I've said before, the world has changed since I started my business, and it's changed in a way that doesn't necessarily make me enjoy a lot of my work as much as I used to. I especially find it challenging when people seem to be completely oblivious to the science and to the depth of understanding that someone like me has, and the value of understanding that science, and what I'm saying there is the people who perhaps do a very short course or an online course, or it might have even paid a lot of money, and then feel that they know exactly what they're doing, and if I say, well, no, that's not right, or I don't think that will work, that I'm lying or holding something back for them, or jealous or whatever, or that nothing I could bring to the table is actually that valuable, for example. That kind of thing has got on my nerves in the past, and I've tried to rise above it, but I think it's important for me to honour that and to try and, as opposed to keep in that area of the market, if you like let other people do that. If they don't value it, why serve it, and then me serve the part of the market that really does value the kind of thing that I bring to the table, and that's research. Now, on that point, and I know I've spoke for a long time, I do want to say that unfortunately this year I did get chosen to present a paper at the IFSCC, which is running later this year, and also I was invited to speak at another conference that I had to pull out of actually at the last minute, and that was the last week. I don't like doing that. These are the sort of things that I live for, that I really love doing. I love presenting, I love organising R&D, participating in research projects, investigating things and creating new scientific knowledge. I love doing that. That's what I want to do more of. But unfortunately, with the circumstances that I've found myself in this year, I've had zero energy and brain capacity to organise the funding and the research, to get the last bits of research done, and then to present that in any cohesive way that I felt would be representative of what I actually know. So as not for the first time in my career, when I've sort of reached the pinnacle, I've had to go, I can't do it. And like I said, it's definitely a mental health thing, that was, and that's one of the downsides that I'm finding. So anyway, I want to wrap it up there and say that thank you very much for sticking with me, for all the readers, and the people who are perhaps going to trudge their way through this long explanation of my life. But I do appreciate it, I really do. I still have a lot of energy and love for the industry, but I mean, you might notice my energy isn't what it used to be or what it has been in the past, but I'm hoping it doesn't have to be. I'm hoping that I can move forward in a way that's more respectful of my neurodiversity, and that rewards me both financially and spiritually for that, as opposed to punishing me for all the things that I can't do, which is pretty much what I'd set up for myself in the past. So yeah, that's really what I wanted to say, and I thought it would be best said on video than in words, even though this has probably gone on far too long. But there you go. Thank you for listening.